In a world where every single thing, from the crispness of the morning air to the warmth of a genuine smile, carried a precise, quantifiable price tag, life was an intricate, relentless ledger. Basic necessities like clean water and breathable oxygen weren't rights, they were commodities, dispensed only after a digital transfer confirmed sufficient funds. Human connection, too, had been monetized, each interaction a subtle negotiation, a delicate balance of emotional investment versus expected return. Friendship came with an unspoken retainer, love a fluctuating market value based on perceived benefits. The pervasive hum of this transactional existence created a silent suffering, a constant thrum of anxiety deep within the bones of every inhabitant. People moved through their days, their expressions flat, their eyes perpetually scanning, calculating, assessing the cost of simply existing. Spontaneity had been eradicated, replaced by meticulous planning and financial foresight. Laughter, if it wasn't purchased as part of an entertainment package, often felt hollow, a desperate attempt to momentarily escape the crushing weight of economic gravity. This was the reality, unyielding and absolute. Amidst this relentless accounting, lived Elara, an ordinary woman navigating the labyrinthine streets of a city defined by transactions. Her life was a meticulous dance between earning just enough and spending just what was necessary. She worked a mundane job in data entry, her fingers flying across a holographic keyboard, processing endless streams of figures that represented someone else's gains and losses. Her small, unassuming apartment, purchased with painstaking monthly installments, was a testament to her diligent, if uninspired, existence. It was a haven of quiet practicality, devoid of frivolous ornamentation, each item chosen for its utility and durability, never its aesthetic appeal. Her aspirations were not grand, not soaring dreams of luxury or daring adventure. Instead, they were anchored firmly in the practical, making her rent on time, ensuring her nutrient-paced subscription didn't lapse, and occasionally affording a carefully rationed, real fruit supplement, a rare, treasured indulgence. She represented the average person, one of the countless individuals caught in the ceaseless, churning gears of this unforgiving system, their lives a constant calculation of cost versus fundamental need. Then came the seemingly insignificant incident, a microscopic tremor that would ultimately cleave her world in two. It began with the city's recent implementation of a new, pedestrian tariff, a charge levied on individuals for walking on designated public pathways during peak hours. The amount itself was negligible, a mere fraction of her daily wage, easily absorbed into her budget had it been any other expense. But as the notification flashed on her retinal display, demanding payment for her morning commute to work, something within Elara snapped. It wasn't about the meager sum, not really. It was the principle, the audacious audacity of being charged for the simple act of moving, of breathing the city air, of existing in public space. It was the soul-crushing weight of constant economic pressure, compressing her spirit day by day, month by month, year by year. This small, seemingly innocuous fee became the breaking point, the straw that bent the camel's spine. A slow, simmering tide of indignation began to rise within her, sparking a deeper, more profound questioning of the entire system, a system she had quietly accepted as immutable her entire life. For the first time, Elara truly saw it, not as an unchangeable law of nature, but as a construct, a colossal machine built brick by brick on the backs of people like her. Before we delve deeper into Elara's extraordinary journey and the unraveling of her world, consider joining our community. Hit that subscribe button and become a part of the conversation as we explore stories that challenge the status quo. Elara's eyes, once dulled by the repetitive hum of the daily grind, began to sharpen, noticing the insidious tentacles of the pricing system reaching far beyond mere currency. She saw it in the strained smiles of her colleagues, exchanging thinly veiled favors for future reciprocation, in the way neighbors measured out their generosity, expecting an equivalent return in kind or social standing, even in casual conversations where every shared anecdote felt like an investment, a bid for attention or validation. What she had once perceived as simply how things were now revealed itself as a meticulously structured market where every interaction, every human impulse, came with an invisible tag. The realization was chilling. Kindness, a simple gesture of empathy, was rarely offered without an underlying expectation. A friend's listening ear wasn't just support, it was a deposit in the relational bank, to be withdrawn when needed. Even the quiet comfort of shared silence seemed to carry an unspoken tax, a demand for mutual contribution. This pervasive commodification extended to time itself. Every minute spent in leisure or contemplation was seen as an opportunity cost, a lost potential for earning or gaining. People raced through their days, perpetually optimizing, perpetually calculating, never truly present. Elara observed the exhaustion in their eyes, the quiet desperation etched into their faces, a testament to the endless ledger they all kept. Her own small acts, once instinctual, now felt clumsy and out of place. When she offered to help Mrs. Gable carry her groceries without waiting for an explicit request, or shared her lunch with a struggling coworker without thinking twice, she was met with a flicker of suspicion, quickly followed by a strained attempt to balance the books. Mrs. Gable insisted on pressing a small, perfectly ripe apple into Elara's hand, muttering about fair exchange. Her coworker later left an expensive coffee on Elara's desk, an undeniable repayment. It wasn't hostility, but a deep-seated inability to process an act devoid of transaction. They couldn't compute generosity without a hidden cost. The antagonist wasn't a person, but the very air they breathed, the system itself. This intangible, omnipresent force manifested as societal norms, whispered expectations, and the collective belief that value was intrinsically tied to price. Elara faced subtle but powerful pushback. Her friends, steeped in the transactional ethos, found her increasingly difficult to understand. "Why would you do that for free?" they'd ask, genuine confusion clouding their expressions. "There's always a catch, Elara, you know that." Colleagues became wary, interpreting her noncompliance as either naivety or a calculated, bizarre strategy to gain an unfair advantage. When she offered genuine emotional support to a distressed acquaintance, there was an almost palpable awkwardness, as if she had overstepped a boundary by giving something so profound without an agreed-upon exchange. Elara, despite the isolating feeling, continued her quiet acts of defiance. She started leaving small, anonymous notes of encouragement for strangers, expecting no recognition. She volunteered a few hours at the local community garden, not for the token vegetables offered, but for the sheer joy of nurturing life. She made an effort to engage in conversations purely for connection, discarding the mental tally of social currency. These small rebellions were initially met with bewilderment, then dismissal. People would shrug, labeling her eccentric or unworldly. It was as if she spoke a different language, one entirely devoid of profit and loss. The emotional toll was heavier than she anticipated. Her refusal to play the game set her apart, creating an invisible chasm between her and the world she inhabited. She felt a profound loneliness, yet a stubborn seed of conviction began to sprout within her. She simply couldn't go back to seeing the world through the lens of a balance sheet. The community faced its gravest challenge yet, a devastating blight swept through the local hydroponic farms, threatening the city's primary food supply. Panic rippled through the districts. The usual solution would involve a complex network of emergency food credits, trading favors, or even bidding wars for the remaining unaffected produce. But Elara, witnessing the despair, knew this was a moment where transactional logic would only deepen the crisis. She saw the fear in her neighbors' eyes, the calculating glint in others, already weighing their dwindling reserves against what they might gain. Her heart ached for the collective vulnerability. Instead of seeking payment or even offering aid with strings attached, Elara proposed something radical. She gathered a small group, those few who had started to see the futility of constant exchange, and suggested they simply give what they could. Not trade, not lend, but simply donate their time, their skills, their small unaffected patches of food. It felt absurd, utopian, a direct affront to every principle their society was built upon. When a local food broker scoffed, demanding a guarantee of recompense for his stored essentials, Elara looked him directly in the eye, her voice steady. "There is no price on survival, no trade for human dignity." She didn't shame him, she simply reiterated her stance. Her commitment was tested almost immediately. A family, new to their district and hit hardest by the blight, had nothing left. They offered her their last heirloom, a tarnished silver locket, as payment for food. Elara gently refused the locket, holding out a basket of nutrient-rich algae cakes. "Keep your memories," she said softly, "we will help you grow new ones." It was a profound act of selflessness, the kind that defied all logic in their world. She emptied her meager pantry, a sacrifice that left her own reserves perilously low, not for acknowledgement, but because it was the only true response she could imagine. She spent countless hours organizing volunteers, mapping out unaffected food sources, and distributing what little they had, without ever once asking for anything in return, not even a simple thank you. Her actions, initially viewed with suspicion or as naive idealism, began to resonate. People watched as the immediate desperation in the affected families eased, not because they had paid a price, but because kindness had no tariff. Slowly, a few more people joined Elara, offering their technical skills to repair hydroponic systems, sharing water purification tablets, or simply providing comfort to those who had lost everything. They weren't paid, they weren't promised future favors, they acted purely out of a shared sense of humanity. The local broker, initially hesitant, observed the quiet dignity emerging from Elara's group. He saw that the blight was being fought not with credits, but with cooperation. He released some of his stores, not for profit, but quietly, anonymously, sliding them into the collective pool. The immediate crisis was averted, not through the usual transactional solutions, but through an unprecedented wave of collective, selfless action, ignited by Elara's unwavering stance. The city didn't instantly transform into a utopia, but something fundamental had shifted. A crack appeared in the edifice of endless exchange. People began to look at each other differently, seeing not just potential transactions, but shared vulnerability and mutual strength. Elara, though still living in the same structured world, had irrevocably altered her relationship to it, carving out a space where true value, beyond the calculating ledger, could flourish. Her story became a whisper, then a conversation, a beacon of hope reminding everyone that not everything has a price. Some things, like genuine human connection, empathy, and unconditional kindness, possess an unquantifiable worth, one worth standing for, even if it meant standing alone at first. Her refusal to pay had, paradoxically, paid the highest dividend, seeding a quiet revolution of the heart. If Elara's story resonated with you, consider subscribing to our channel for more thought-provoking narratives. Has there ever been a time when you refused to pay the unspoken price, and what was the outcome? Share your reflections in the comments below.